Battle Creek, Michigan, at the close of the 19th century. It was a quiet town with a strange obsession, the health of the human gut. At its center stood the Battle Creek Sanitarium, a sprawling temple of wellness where the well-to-do came to be cured of the age they lived in. And running, it were two brothers whose names would one day sit on breakfast tables across the world. The elder was John Harvey Kellogg, a doctor, a showman, a man of relentless conviction. He preached vegetarianism, cold water, exercise, and abstinence with the fervor of a prophet. To him, the American diet was a slow poison, and he intended to fix it, one patient at a time. The younger was Will Keith Kellogg, quieter, watchful, endlessly practical. For years he lived in his brother's shadow, keeping the books, managing the staff, doing the work that made the doctor's grand visions run. He was the ledger to John's sermon, and he was patient in a way that would eventually change everything. The sanitarium's patients needed food that was bland, wholesome, and easy to digest. So the brothers experimented endlessly in the kitchen, boiling wheat, testing grains, searching for something that a sick stomach could love. Breakfast, in their hands, became a laboratory. The legend says it happened by accident. A batch of boiled wheat was left out too long, and when the brothers rolled it, instead of a single sheet, they got flakes, thin, delicate, and toasted crisp. They had stumbled onto a texture no one had made before, and the patients, to everyone's surprise, adored it. They refined the process, moving from wheat to corn, chasing a lighter, sweeter, more appealing flake. What began as invalid food started to taste like something people might actually want. And in that shift lay the seed of the disagreement that would split the brothers apart. For John Harvey, the flake was medicine, a tool of moral and physical health, never to be corrupted. For Will, the flake was something else entirely, a product with a market waiting beyond the sanitarium's walls. One brother saw a cure, the other saw a business. The sticking point was sugar. Will believed that a little sweetness would win the American palate and sell millions of boxes. John recoiled at the idea. Sugar was exactly the indulgence his whole philosophy stood against. The kitchen that had united them now became a battleground of principle. In 1906, Will made his move. He founded his own company to make and sell the flakes to ordinary families, not patients, the Battle Creek Toasted Corn Flake Company. He was in his mid-40s, stepping at last out of his brother's long shadow, and he was about to gamble everything on breakfast. He proved to be a natural at the new art of advertising. He put his own signature on every box, W.K. Kellogg, a promise of authenticity in a crowded field of imitators. He ran splashy campaigns, gave away free samples, and turned a bowl of grain into a household ritual. The brothers went to war in the courts. They fought bitterly over who owned the Kellogg name, that single word now worth a fortune. The lawsuits dragged on for years, and when the dust settled, Will held the rights. The name that had belonged to both would forever mean the younger one's empire. The rift never healed. Two brothers who had once bent over the same steaming pots barely spoke again for the rest of their lives. There are stories of unsent letters and apologies never delivered, the quiet grief of a bond broken by ambition and pride. But the flake itself conquered the country. What had once been a treatment for the sick became the emblem of the modern morning, fast, packaged, poured from a box into a bowl. The leisurely cooked breakfast of an older America began to fade, replaced by convenience and a cheerful cartoon promise. Competitors flooded into Battle Creek, drawn by the gold rush of cereal. The town became the breakfast capital of the world, its factories exhaling the smell of toasting grain over the streets. An entire industry had grown from a single accident in a sanitarium kitchen. Will Kellogg grew immensely rich, and in his later years he gave much of it away, pouring his fortune into a foundation for the welfare of children. The man who had waited so long in another's shadow left a legacy of his own, one measured not only in boxes sold, but in lives quietly helped. Today the cornflake is so ordinary that we forget it was ever an invention at all. Yet behind that familiar rustle lies a story of two brothers, a shared dream, and a quarrel that neither could let go. The American breakfast we know was, in the end, shaped by a wound that never quite closed. In the hush of that old kitchen, you can almost still hear it, the crackle of grain on hot iron, and two voices, once in harmony, drifting slowly apart. They gave us the morning. They just could never share it. And that, perhaps, is the most human ingredient of all.